All right, so apparently Fetterman's not very happy. For those who don't know, Fetterman is the very, very laissez-faire Democrat who was known for wearing just all kinds of sweaters. Like, really, that's the big thing. He just wore sweaters. And then eventually, people got to the point where they realized, okay, this is just his shtick. That's fine. Whatever. And then he decided to start being, Democrat in name only? like the truest of purpley Democrats, basically, where his version of I would like to serve both of my sides of the constituency is to actively fuck over each side randomly instead of, actually doing good in the world. So, said Fetterman's the Manchin replacement. Yeah, he's not Joe Manchin, but he's Joe Manchining. He went pro-Israel after a head injury, which is accurate. So, let's go ahead and see what's going on with him here. This is him talking with Jon Stewart. And for those who don't know, one of the biggest criticisms of Fetterman is that he's just... Him and Israel are peas in a pod, and I don't know why. But let's go.
And now you have my party... they're returning back to the work.
It's so weird seeing him in a suit after so long of him trying to say that, he couldn't do a suit. Yeah, it's weird. Said, of course, Ground News is the sponsor. Ground News is always the sponsor. Let's go ahead and take a listen. Said Israel part is 4702. This is about the party electing DSA members. I mean, yeah, but I also want to throw that part out there. But let's see here. So yeah, we had Haley Stevens lose her election against somebody from the DSA, even though she constantly screamed and whined about how Israel comes to her in her dreams, which gross, clean up. But let's see what he says about that.
First impulses: abolish ICE, abolish the border, and say these kinds of.
Wait. When have Democrats said abolish the border? They have said abolish ICE. Where are they saying abolish the border? Where is that happening?
Extreme things.
You're saying the Democratic Party is returning to abolish ICE and abolish borders?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that are winning, when we're filming this, right. In Michigan, the person that's going to win is calling to abolish ICE. And then...
That's different. Hold on. Is it the Democratic Party is calling for this, or the specific one person you disagree with has said that? Those are different statements. You did the Mott and Bailey.
And then the governor race in Wisconsin, she even said abolish prisons as well, too.
But she said that she had said that previously, and she's walked that back in the same way that a lot of people in the heat of the George Floyd moment said defund the police, and then ultimately said, you know what, that was an emotional response, and I think that was the wrong policy. But aren't you...
I think the problem with defund the police always was that if you asked 15 different lefties what defund the police meant, it meant something different to all of us. That's the big problem with defund the police. At least one of the big problems it was. It was a movement that sounded like it clearly communicated its message, but didn't. Because, for me, I am pro having law enforcement. I think that once you have population to a certain scale, you have to, because you're lying to yourself if you believe that there is not at least some percentage of the population that are legitimately just harmful actors. Generally, we call them billionaires, but to pretend that they don't exist is naive. The problem with our current law enforcement is several-fold. One, it is it is spread too thin. They are trying to be the mental health professionals. They are trying to be guards for schools. They are trying to be beat cops. They are trying to be the prison system. They're trying to be everything. They're trying to be everything all at once, be trained for all of it, and they're not really well trained for any of it. As a result, you get law enforcement officers that, are just stressed the fuck out. Combine that with our hiring practices of law enforcement officers, where we deliberately choose to hire people who are not in their right state of mind and who do not have decent IQ scores. Now, I know IQ is racist because of the bell curve thing. I understand that, but one of the policies we have for hiring police officers is if they score too high in an IQ test, we do not let them become police officers. So you get this combined problem of people who are spread too thin for the job that they are doing, and are told that they can handle a mental health crisis with the barrel of a fucking gun, who also simultaneously, somehow, need to be fucking stupid in order to be part of the police force. So now you need actual idiots who are handling people's mental health issues. No wonder you get the violence issues. And then within the police force themselves, there's a fuck ton of corruption. By the way, when the police force is corrupted, that does not mean there are bad apples. That means the entire fucking system is fucked. You have that entire system that has a system of profiling and a system of biases that that inadvertently cause certain races to get over-policed. And when they get over-policed, they get overrepresented in statistics. And when they get overrepresented in statistics, it gives the police an excuse to over-police them more, and it creates a cyclical problem where more violence and more, quote, hard-on crime, dumb shittery can be done in black neighborhoods. And I'm literally just hip-firing a handful that do high IQ. Okay, no, they need them to be low IQ. Specifically. Regardless. Yeah, I meant too low. Sorry. I meant too low. Wait, there's no way you can get barred too far. Wait, no, that's what I meant. No, Jessica, Skit. No, that is exactly what I meant. If you are a police officer, if you are trying to become a police officer, if your IQ is too high, they will 100% bar you from becoming a police officer. Like, we deliberately stop people from getting hired as police officers. Like, that is a thing we do. If you need me to clarify that. Said, oh, really? That's bullshit? How have you hung out and left to spaces and not known that? That's weird. Yeah, so, back in the 2000 court case, Jordan versus New London, the practice of screening out applicants who scored too high on intelligence tests became normalized and accepted with legal precedence. This has been a thing for 25 years. They deliberately want people who score in the low hundreds, like, as far as IQ is concerned. The Dan says, Suris, I'm unfortunately back in the United States. The demo of my life without this bullshit has run its course, and now I have to bear more of this to actually get it. I am sorry, Dan. Dorito with the source. There you go. Jordan versus New London. Jordan, a 49-year-old college graduate, took the exam in 1996, scored 33 points, the equivalent of an IQ of 125. But the New London police interviewed only candidates who scored 20 to 27 on the theory that those who scored too high could get bored with police work and leave soon after undergoing costly training. Yeah, that's totally their reason. There's totally the reason. Autism says, I don't know a lot about politics, but I'm watching for left-wing streamers and reading books. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you for the follow. And I'm not going to throw a book recommendation at you other than just, like, maybe read Conquest of Bread so you get a general idea of a criticism from the left towards Marx. There you go. But yeah, there you go. Jessica, there is your actual sourced reasoning for why this happens. When I think defund the police, I think cut their military funding, because they shouldn't have access to fucking military equipment. That's weird as shit. I think lowering the amount of officers that we have that are on beats in fucking black neighborhoods. I think of taking money away from the police force and hiring more mental health professionals to be the ones who actually go and handle house calls instead of it being, a guy with a gun. Said Conquest of Bread. It's from Kropotkin. If you want law enforcement, you need to actually hire the best and brightest, and you need to make that law enforcement ridiculously accountable to not only itself, but to the people. Right now, our law enforcement is not. Because oftentimes when somebody gets fired out of one police district, they get sent to another police district and get a job over there even after they got fired from a previous one for misconduct. And then we actually, I think another thing we should do is cut all funding of propaganda. Because there is an amount of money that literally comes from the tax dollars to fund shows that are pro-police officer. We do this with the military too, by the way. I don't think that's a thing we should do. So when I think defund the police, I think cutting all of these superfluous expenses that ultimately make law enforcement worse. But there are people who think that defund the police means we don't need any law enforcement whatsoever, and everybody will just get along without any problems at all, which is that's not how this works. I don't think anybody who truly believes that has actually lived in an area where people are generally more prone to violence. I have, so my perspective is colored by that. Have I played Disco Elysium? Nope. Anyway, I needed to go up on that rant. Continue, Stewart and Fetterman.
Elevating what seems to be I mean, how many people have, like, three DSA or 5? It seems like the Democratic Party is largely still just the Democratic Party, and there are some people that associate with either the DSA or...
Oh my God, I didn't catch this when it happened 20 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I am their good 9-ood. I don't know how to say your name. Alwal. I didn't catch it. I am so sorry. I apologize.
Social democracies that are gaining a foothold. But I don't imagine how many, what are we talking about? 3 or 4?
Well, it's actually many more. There's one in Colorado. There's many in New York. And now I just seen the recent poll.
Man, I love when Jon Stewart hits them with the honest thing, like, really, how many DSA members are getting prominent roles right now? It's more than has been in the past, thankfully. But his response is, well, actually, it's more than that. It's one in Colorado and many in New York. Now, I love the word many. For the last decade of running my channel, I think every single one of you have heard me do my spiel on the word many. I love the word many because the word many can mean anything at all. A fuck ton of anything. Many can mean 3. Many can mean 300. Many can mean whatever the fuck I need it to mean, but I want you to think it means a lot. Many is a slippery word. I love when people use many because it shows me exactly how little faith they have in their own argument.
Over a third of Democrats identify themselves as socialists or
have sympathy.
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing, actually. Maybe the owners of the means of production should be us, not billionaires who hemorrhage money away from us to increase their profit margins. Maybe.
That kind of way. So it is a significant issue. You know, we got wrecked in 24 because a lot of the extreme things that we were saying in 2020 now came back to haunt us. And that's why we found ourselves here in the minority. And I'm saying, hey, we can't go back to the same extreme views because...
No, we don't want you to go back to the same bullshit centrist views. Please go to the extreme ones. Like, I would love to see a Democratic Party that is actually filled with extreme lefties. I would adore that, because the Republican Party is filled with extreme maggots. So, if I have a perfect world where I'm just wriggling... I mean, a perfect world, we just have a bunch of socialists and the means of production is ours. But in a perfect world, within the constraints of what the American system will allow right now, I would like there to be an equal amount of socialists, if not more, to the amount of Republicans who view themselves as MAGA.
We have to win actual battleground states. It's not echo chambers in Brooklyn or now. And here you see the people with these extreme views are breaking through in Michigan and in Wisconsin and places like in Colorado in there. So I'm saying let's resist these extreme kinds of views to abolish.
Or again, don't, because we need to fight fire with fire at this point. So, okay. Also, Pautism says that would actually be a good balance of any of the right extremists, right? So, like, let's talk about how the Overton window works. The Overton window is the set of things you are allowed to say that are considered normal politically. So, 20 years ago, if I called myself a socialist, that was something that would be seen as suicide. It is not as suicidal to call myself one now because we've managed to wiggle that term into the Overton window. At the same time, though, Christian nationalism has wiggled its way into the right side of the Overton window. Something that would have been seen as infinitely more deplorable, maybe before 9/11, to be fair, is something that is seen far more normal. Ideas that would be considered more authoritarian, and we can actually point to them being fairly fascist, are things that are far more normalized. Think Donald Trump kicking all the trans people out of the military, despite the percentage of the military that they actually represent per their actual capita group themselves as a minority. Think the Don't Say Gay bill that got passed in Florida and then got replicated in multiple areas. Think the heartbeat bills that were set as trigger bills so that the minute the Supreme Court changed over into Trump's Supreme Court, they could have them go online and take away women's rights, even to the point where they tried to take away people's ability to travel. I'll give you as many specific examples of shit that would have been considered wild 15 years ago. But all of that shit is literally what we have right now in writing in our laws. Dorita says, we still need to talk about trans people in the military that I sent you like 4 years ago? No. I'm kidding. Is it Overton? That sounds like the name of a cool game. So, at that point, I don't think that what we do is we shrink the size of the Overton window by giving and ceding ground from the left-hand side of the Overton window. We don't do that. We extend the Overton window further and further to the left so that more and more people who are in the left have a seat at the table where they can have conversations, because actual Nazis, and again, I will give you exact examples, Richard Spencer, Nicholas Fuentes, would not have been considered people that have a seat at the table to talk 10 years ago. They do now. They absolutely do now. We do not shrink the amount of us that can have a seat at the table to give our opinions. We extend the amount of people on our side that are able to give opinions, because that is what the right has done successfully.
Abolish everything. And now the DSA is an emerging factor here. Now, I'm not elevating him. I'm just describing what I'm witnessing that's coming as a regular Democrat. And now that's the reality. And I expect El Sayed will win by double digits.
So let me see if I can.
And yet his opponent spent 10 times as much as he did on her campaign.
Frame this in a slightly different way. Why do you think it is that there is a kind of momentum behind these more, as you would call them, extremists, or I would say, they're a mix. There's a certain nuance to it.
I mean, I can give you the reason that comes into my head, societal pressure. So we'll call it social evolution. That's not the right term for it, but we'll use it because it illuminates what I'm trying to say. So the way that evolution works biologically is there are environmental pressures that are put on organisms, and those organisms will then, at some point in their genealogy, experience a form of change, and that change is often an adaptation to that pressure around them. Societally, we have kind of the same thing. Think about it this way. What is the cost of living right now? What is the average rent right now? Because where I am, the average rent is anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500. When I became an adult, a studio apartment costed me $380 some odd a month. Now, I have friends who are desperately trying to find studio apartments, and those are in the quad-digit range for them. At the same time, what has happened with the minimum wage? It hasn't moved. It hasn't moved one bit. Your cost to live in something that is not a cardboard box has more than doubled. Your minimum wage has not more than doubled. It hasn't moved an inch. Throw another one at you. What is the cost of food? What is the cost of beef? What is the cost of getting fast food? People rely on fast food more when they don't have time. And they have to rely on fast food more when they don't have time because they are often overburdened with work. And they are often overburdened with work when they are having to take on more than one job. But if they're having to take on more than one job, and all of the fast food around them is getting worse, and the fast food options around them are getting more expensive, you get this fun cycle called the Boots theory of economics. You see, if they had the time and money up front, they would be able to do a ton of food prep. They're too fucking exhausted to do that because working 2 8-hour jobs back to back means you're not fucking doing that shit. Boots' theory of economics is the idea that if you buy a $20 pair of boots, you may have to replace it in 6 months, but if you buy a $70 pair of boots, you may be able to keep that pair of boots for 10 years. You don't have $70 right now, so you've got to buy the $20 pair of boots. So over the course of 10 years, you've spent $40 to $60 every year, and the other guy who was able to afford the $70 pair of boots up front only had to buy once. Paggio says 2 8-hour jobs while single is a lot of money, kind of jealous. I'm not doing this today. I'm not doing this today. We don't get jealous of people for overworking themselves to the point where they can't even eat healthily. No, we don't do that. That's stupid. I don't have the crayons nor the slurs to explain to you why that's a dumb fucking take. Anyway, you can come back in 10 minutes. I bring up the Boots theory of economics to point out that we have had more things like fast food where we can't do that early investment due to a lack of money or a lack of time. But buying a McDouble meal for $6 may be the best option available for you right now between time and finances. But the more you rely on that, the less healthy you get. And so the Boots theory of economics kicks in because now you're having to spend more money either on the fast food because it's addictive, or you're having to spend it on hospital stays because you're not taking care of your body. So think of somebody who's in this pressure cooker. They're having to go to the hospital more because of their diet. They're having to work more to survive. Just keeping a roof over their head is strangulating them. And now, bring two ideas to this person. One, there's a group of people we can blame for all of your problems, and they are immigrants. Congratulations, you have now created the MAGA movement. But let's do this one more time. There's a group of people who are responsible for all your problems. They are called oligarchs. Congratulations, you've created a leftist. A leftist and a right-wing extremist both simultaneously believe that there is a problem that can be solved to stop the financial pressure cooker they are stuck in. But the person on the right wing of politics is believing an oligarch telling them that it's a black person, an immigrant, a Jew. The person on the left is looking at the oligarch who's throwing the blame elsewhere and going, no, I know where the problem is. And it's you with your net worth of $1 billion. All of you. We'd now like to call them the Epstein class. So if you want to know why the DSA is gaining more prominence, if you want to know why people are more okay with being labeled as socialist, I don't even have to go to the economic theory of it yeah, if we all agreed that us owning the means of production would be better, then yeah, you have more socialists. Even people who don't know that socialism means that are more likely to call themselves socialist because they are looking at the oligarch and they are going, I am starving and I have a modest proposal for how to fix it.
But don't you think that that's happening for a reason? In other words, it's not happening, the same sort of impulses and energies that drove Donald Trump's rise. Economic populism, a dissatisfaction.
Oh, I absolutely adore when I hit the nail on the head. What did I just explain? In far more words and far less eloquently. The economy. Economic populism. You convince people that there's an enemy that they can rally against, and that will solve their economic problems. Holy shit!
With the status quo. On the Democratic side, couldn't you say that this is happening because establishment Democrats, the party that you're talking about, that you think is the more reasonable party, hasn't delivered for people in the way that they think is appropriate? You know, these moments don't happen out of thin air. These are conditions on the ground where people are dissatisfied with the status quo. And you have candidates that come up and they present economic proposals and other proposals that feel more urgent to the moment. In other words, why are you blaming them when in some ways you could be blaming yourself and your colleagues?
I'm very happy about that. I like that answer. Also, Potism says, I was raised in a right-wing extremist family. I never understood my family members because I just thought they were mean and hateful. That's why when my mom finally divorced my dad, we were able to be different from my family. They're all gross anyways and hypocritical because half of them were Hispanic. Heck, I'm multiracial, just never understood the right-wing politics, and I never intend to. So, I will say this. There is a lot of conservatism that floats around in racial spaces. In black spaces, it tends to look like people saying that they are the right kind of black person and the wrong kind of black person's the one who actually deserves the N-word. I've heard that one specifically said to me. The no treat stream alert? Is the treat stream alert thing? Okay, hold on. God, I love technology. It works so well. Also, hi, Sake Tanuki. Yep, I see somebody sent a treat 2 minutes ago. And if that was you, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, Nick Fuentes, Enrico Tario. Yeah, so I don't know as much about how it manifests in Hispanic spaces because I am not frequenting those spaces. I have seen it manifest in black spaces, and when it manifests there, it is it's not the Uncle Ruckus. Usually, it's the person who thinks that they are the dignified black man, and everybody else is actually the person who deserves the N-word aimed at them, so it's not really racism towards them when the white supremacist decides to be an ass shit. Because again, watch that one happen in real time during COVID. That was fucking freaky. So why is Jon Stewart speaking to an ogre? But I have seen, because I've seen it manifest in that space from a racial perspective, I know that it can manifest in more spaces that I'm just not aware of. I don't know what it looks like if it's in Asian community spaces. I don't know what it looks like when it's in community spaces for any other race. I've seen the one happen, and I know what it looks like when it's your average, white family, because they largely don't think they're racist, and then they call their dog the N-word. That one was weird. So, I don't know. I'm sorry you went through that, Podism. But I've seen that shit happen in some form or fashion before, and it's sad.
It's not, well, I'm not blaming, I'm describing here where we at and what's happening now too. And I'm like, when we have people winning elections saying absurd kinds of positions that were absolutely toxic back in 2020 and saying, stop saying these kind of extreme things are not workable in the real world overall. And don't we want to win? Do we want to be the people?
Have you ever considered the question, why aren't whatever policy you're talking about workable? Because oftentimes you'll find that the reason that any particular social change is not workable has less to do with reality just working that way and has more to do with not having a large enough movement under that movement, under that idea. Oftentimes, the only thing that is required to get a non-starter idea off the ground is enough people, and unfortunately, enough money, in order to get it to the point where people can start taking it seriously. Autism says, for my family, it's religion. They think everything in the Bible is about hating gay, trans, and black people. I don't know how they came to that conclusion, as I always thought Christianity was about spreading love and kindness, not hatred. Heck, it said Jesus hung out with sinful people, but I don't even think being gay or trans or a person is different colors is sinful. So it's not the Bible. I'll go ahead and tell you from experience, Autism, it's not the Bible. So here's what happens. You get somebody who is scared in some way, shape, or fashion, or is judgmental or bigoted towards someone, and they can't justify it in their head. They have two ways to go about that. One, they can be honest with themselves and recognize that they don't have a good justification for why they believe what they do. We usually figure this out by using something called the Socratic method. The Socratic method is a method of talking with people where you ask them questions in a linear fashion so that you can get them to get to a conclusion. You're not trying to lead them to a conclusion, you are trying to get them to come to their own conclusion about something. Usually it is, why do you believe X? And then when they try to give an answer, you ask, why do you believe that? And you'll find that eventually eventually you will find that most people don't have a good reason for believing their base beliefs. Now, on the other end of that, you get people who say, oh, instead of me recognizing that I don't have a good reason to believe something, I'm gonna hide behind a scapegoat. Now, that scapegoat can be religious. They can use the Bible, cherry pick what they want out of there, say, Romans says the gay people aren't going to go to heaven. Leviticus says that the gay people should be stoned. Numbers says that abortions are good. Oh, wait, hold on. That's not the one that they use. The Genesis says that raping your dad while he's drunk is good. Wait, hold on. Nope, that's, sorry. They usually don't read that passage either. But they also don't read Ezekiel unless they're really horny for horse dick. But they'll take any excuse to not work on themselves and not change their belief. So again, person A recognizes they don't have a justification for their belief and changes. Person B recognizes they don't have a justification for their belief and hides behind it, either forward consciously or subconsciously. They hide behind, this politician told me this is the person I'm supposed to hate, or the Bible told me this is the person I'm supposed to hate, or my pastor told me this is the person I'm supposed to hate, or my parents told me this is the person I'm supposed to hate. The religion is a scapegoat. Saki Tanuki says, Leviticus is just criticizing men for being bad at gay sex. If you're trying to do it the same way you do as you're hetero, you're bad at it. Well, yes. If you
can love meteor golem.
Becky Dog, thank you for the subscription. Yes, if you lie with a man as you would lie with a woman, you're doing it wrong because the scrotum is not a vagina. But there's also another way to look at that passage, because the Greek translation of it is if a man lies with a male, and a male was a word specifically for somebody who was considered to be on the younger side. So it turns out that one of the translations of that is actually that it's against pedophilia, because it would be man lying with a young man, or man lying with a young boy. That's another translation of that particular bit of Leviticus. Yes, it's functionally don't diddle kids, you sick fuck. There's another version where it's like literally like autismly literal, where it's, hey, if you want to do gay sex but you do it in the bed of a woman who didn't consent to you doing it there, that's bad. But I don't think that that's what the author meant. Autism said that's so gross. Why didn't they read this in church? That isn't right. That makes me so queasy. Horse what? They think doing what to your dad is good? I feel so sick. I'm sorry, I didn't know this. Yeah, hold on. Here. Ezekiel horse. Here you go. Potism, you're looking for Ezekiel 23:20. There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of a horse. There you go. That's the one. And in Genesis 19, you get introduced to Lot showing hospitality with a bunch of angels, and then he tells everybody in the town that please don't rape the angels, rape my daughters instead. I shit you not, that's Genesis 19. Because he tells the people of the town that they could know his daughters like they want to know the angels. And in the Bible, knowing someone biblically means to fuck. So there is that. It said one Potiton says, what? Yeah, that's Genesis 19. That's Genesis 19. And then, because Lot's daughters, after Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, thought that the world had ended, they thought they needed to repopulate the earth. So they got their dad drunk and raped him so that they could be impregnated, because their boyfriends had died in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's the thing that happened as well. So, yeah, Genesis is a hell of a book. Genesis is one hell of a book. Said plural? Yes. Oh, by the way, you can find the story of Lot offering his daughters to the people of Sodom. That's in the Quran, too. Surahs 11 to 15. Or 11 and 15, rather. That, too. Lily, thank you for redeeming your points for an... Not Suris 11 and 15, is Surah, S-U-R-A-H. Is it you made me in the wrong chat? Anyway, yeah, no, I'm sorry to give you lots of information about silly shit that's in the Bible, but there's lots of silly shit in the Bible. Anywho, back to these two fucks.
Leading the conversation instead of having another kinds of subordinate position like we are currently in and have been since in January of 2025.
So you think you lost in 2024?
Also, Potism says, I'm so sorry. Is it normal for me to be upset at this? Oh, it's very normal. So everybody that got the Cliff Notes version of the Bible given to them by their pastors, they like to call it harmonizing the scriptures. Whenever they get told the shit that's actually in the Bible without a filter, they tend to have a bit of a strange reaction to it if it's their first time learning about any of that shit. Just so you know, it's... Yep.
Because of the extremism of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz?
Yeah, absolutely.
The extremist Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? What? Biden light and just the one old guy everybody knew. That's what extremism are you fucking talking about?
Or the Joe Biden administration?
Yeah, I was...
What? How were those extreme? In what way were those extreme, you fucking moron?
I was on the, in fact, El Sayed, for example, he was a big leader in the uncommitted, saying, don't vote Democrat, don't vote for these people. And now, like, some things that I've never done. I drove thousands and thousands of miles all across Pennsylvania to try to elect Vice President Harris, and I've done that. But on the ground, it's very clear we're going down because the energy and a lot of the way that they've been positioned as people that are not in touch with people. And now,
boy, howdy, I don't want Jon Fetterman to ever say the words out of touch with people as himself fully out of touch with people.
We've lost the argument, and at no point did I had a strong feeling that we can win this. And anyone spent time in Pennsylvania there during that election, we all understood we have a serious challenge.
But don't you think this new sort of energy and economic populism is a response to that?
Well, what is that? Is that socialism? And in more, it's communism. It's...
No, the fuck it's not. Socialism is when the proletariat owns the means of production. The proletariat is the working class. The bourgeoisie is the owner class. Communism is when you have a stateless, classless, moneyless society. Find me the stateless, classless, moneyless... I mean, we probably all have moneylessness, but... Find me the Democrat who is currently holding a seat of power who wants a stateless, classless, moneyless society. Find me that person, John Fetterfuck.
That's not an economic model that has never worked in the history.
But
capitalism was an economic model that had never worked in the history of ever until it did. Capitalism is not the state that things have been in for the entirety of the world. Capitalism has been an ever-growing idea with many theorists behind it, changing what it is and what it does. And each version was something new and iterative on what came before. It had never been tried until it had been tried. My fucking God.
That sounds like a caricature. El Sayed is running on, he wants to ban corporate money, wants to tax, I guess, higher taxes on billionaires.
How much corporate money has Jon Fetterman taken? Let's see here. Was that a lot? Okay. Jon Fetterman's campaign funding relied mostly on donors. About 1% of his total campaign funds did actually come from corporations. However, that feels a little skewed because a individual who happened to be the CEO of a corporation dropping a gift not through the lens of the corporation would still be seen as an individual, yes? Like, let's see here. Did he only take... Interesting. Also, Fetterman's only reported 24,000 of the dollars that he would have gotten for his campaign in 2020. Fairly certain he had more than that in there. Ah, well. Could be wrong. Could be wrong here. But Open Secrets does show. See, Open Secret shows that at least during his campaign in 2020, 13,000 came from organizations unavailable for record, 2,800 for Wesco International, and then specific names for people going down the list after that. Only 13 donations for his entire campaign? That feels weird. There it is! There it is! Okay, I see. I see. Okay, 500,000. 500,000 from AIPAC. Or at least pro-Israel PACs. So, AIPAC being one of them. Okay. I knew I was missing something.
For housing and education, Medicare for all. You know, when you say that's communism, that feels like a caricature.
No, I never said that. I call.
Wait. He never said the words he said 5 minutes ago? But wait, you literally just said 5 minutes ago that it was communism.
I call real communists that are cheering for communism people like Hassan Piker, for example. You know, he's a big influence, you know, in the Democratic Party conversation, and he is a communist. He celebrates Mao.
Is he a communist? Hold on. Thought he was a socialist. Yeah, no, he's not a fucking communist, he's a socialist. I don't think he's ever said we should have a classless, moneyless society. Said, okay, he has no political power, he's just a good at talking points. Said Hassan's a tanky Suris. I mean, in the sense that he celebrates China a lot, doesn't he? Said, who's Hassan? Hassan Piker. He's the biggest left side political streamer that exists. Like, it's him and then Destiny and then Hassan. Or him and Destiny and then Vosh. In terms of streaming. He was pretty messed up. He dressed as Mao, who has killed more people than Hitler. Said Destiny isn't left. For the longest time, he was left of center. He was pretty messed up. He dressed as Mao, who killed more people than Hitler. I don't see that as a salient thing about somebody's ideology. I don't. I did see Vosh is moving. He's leaving the United States.
And describes and is going to be proud to visit Cuba and stand on people on those sides. That's not a smear. That's just using the kinds of words and the positions that he has made.
No, I know, Jassa. I know. That's why I said for the longest time. I know that Destiny's jumping off the deep end because he's being an idiot. That is the dressing as Mao thing just the time when the guy wore an Eastern-style suit? Yeah, I think it's the... There are some members of my chat who tend to hold very strong opinions and do not have a good basis for those opinions.
Part of his platform.
So you're saying he says, I'm a communist and I want America to be communist.
No, I'm
He's a communist. Okay, so he says that he's a communist and wants America to be that? Well, no. Okay, Fetty Wap.
I'm saying that he has the kinds of views. Now, you were very, very instrumental in delivering aid for victims of 9/11. You know, like, you know, you've been here and you've been very effective for doing that. You know, for an individual that says that America, we deserve that. Hey, I'm deeply offended by that, and I don't support that, and I'm certainly not going to campaign with him, or I'm not going to.
Jessica, I believe random people on the internet less than I believe people who were actually experts in what you're describing. And people who trained animals who were experts in what you're describing disagree with you. So, just going to throw that out there. But, that said, I think I've gotten about as much as I'm going to get out of this. Fucking hell. So... He describes the politician as a communist. Fetterman gets his feet held to the fire by Jon Stewart. Then he goes, well, no, I never said that, despite the fact that he did say that. And then when he brings up Hassan Piker specifically and says he's a communist, actually, which is not a politician in power, he then, right afterwards, goes, well, no, he doesn't call himself that. He doesn't want the United States to be communist. But he visited Cuba. Okay. Obama did wear a tan suit once. That makes him terrible. Yeah, no, what's the timestamp? Is it 47 minutes? 47 for the fun Israel bit?
Trump things. Big, beautiful bill. I did not vote for that. And Save Act, I said, will not vote for that. And some of these big signature ones. And when we vote for Blanche in this week when we're filmed, I won't for him either.
Right.
So what really matters is the votes and what's behind that. And what's really set me apart of most of the Democratic Party is Israel. And that's fair. It criticized John Fetterman on Israel without a doubt, 100%. So that's been primarily, and that's been driving our party.
So for you could agree with them 90%, but Israel is the red line.
Absolutely. Israel for me, like I can't ever turn my back to Israel after where it's at.
So, and I mean no disrespect on this, but that is not our country. You're saying that these can't...
Of course, but he's been paid $500,000 to talk about Israel. He's been paid $500,000 to support Israel. So, of course, when Fetterman's just like, look, I love this look on his face. Look at this.
But that is not our country. You're
just that.
Saying that these candidates may have great ideas for our economy. They may want to do the exact same thing you want to do in terms of getting money out of politics. They may want to increase the social safety net. They may want to change the balance of power from capital back to labor. But if they don't agree with you on Israel, you don't want them in your party.
Well, I don't know who you're referencing to specifically.
No, I'm referencing what you just said.
Yeah, it's the words you just fucking said, dummy.
Name one. Flatner?
So in other words, Syed or AOC or Bernie Sanders, I assume you agree with a lot of what they say economically.
And what I'm saying is, like, if you are a DSA member, if you are a member of a specific political party, run under your own banner. And now, I think Bill Maher said something very insightful. He said, the DS...
So MAGA should be its own party then, instead of the Republican Party. The DSA taking seats within the Democratic Party is because the Democratic Party is the party on the left-hand side of our politics that has any power. When you say, run as your own party, you are actually saying, I do not want you to hold any power whatsoever.
They are colonizing the Democratic Party. So just be Democrats if you're going to run under the Democratic Party for that.
Why does every Democrat have to believe the exact same thing? Why? Why do they have to believe the same things you believe on, I don't know, Israel? Why? Why is that something they have to do? What he's saying is he doesn't want the Democratic Party to give money to them, but if they're winning, the Democratic Party should be beholden not to itself, but to the constituents. I'm fucking sorry. The Democratic Party should be beholden to the people who vote in the Democratic Party. And if we vote for DSA members, that means we want DSA members in the party.
Why have a DSA party for overall? So run on that, and you all understand.
It's just an organization. It's not, we have a two-party system. It's like the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party. There's Randy Fine and Ogles and all these nutbags that are also part of an area, and Republicans, I'm sure, may not agree with all of them on all kinds of things, but there is no other party. Well, I guess you could try it, but my point is, if you don't disagree with them on a lot of things, why not use some of that energy? And even like Mamdani in New York is DSA, but there are things in the DSA platform that he disagrees with.
Yeah, almost like you disagreeing with a bunch of other Democrats on Israel. And yet, you would not say that you should be giving up your power and creating some kind of stupid fucking Philadelphia Purple Party.
I'm assuming there's probably things in the Democratic platform that you might disagree with, but you don't disavow the entire thing. You're literally saying we can all have discussions, except when it comes to Israel, which is not America.
Yeah, you don't want to have that discussion because you have $500,000 in your pocket from them.
It seems...
Wait, hydrate or die straight? Puppy Girl Lucy, I am quite straight. So I guess I'm dying straight. I mean, I'll do the hydrate. I mean, there was that one femboy. I'm sorry, but no, I'll do the hydrate. It's fine.
It's like a weird line to draw.
Well, I don't think that's weird. I think what history demonstrates is that when people or a government or people turn their back to the Jewish community, things end really badly. And it's
Israel is not the Jewish community. Israel is a specific geopolitical organization, country, caucus. You can use any word you want for it, but they are their own thing. They happen to run an ethno-state that is largely in favor of Jews specifically and discriminatory against others. Now, that is not the same thing at all as turning your back on Jews. Because I don't want there to be a Christian white ethno-state. I don't want there to be a Muslim ethno-state. I am against any fucking ethno-state. The fact that they get to have one because they're special or something. No, fuck that shit. No. We should not have ethno-states. Ethno-states are fucking stupid. Said a lot of riverboaters today. Yep. I said caucus? No, caucus. C-A-U-C-U-S. It is a organization of political party members or lawmakers. That's all it is. This is just it's a very broad term.
It's a dangerous...
Jewish community and Israel are not the same thing, brother man. They're not, that is not the same thing.
No. It's like, hey, it's like if I have to pick a side for after 10/7 and after Iran, I'm always going to stand with Israel. I'm always going to vote and support whatever that's necessary to protect themselves and to prosecute Hamas.
Including the genocide? Including the thing that genocide studying organizations have specifically noted is a genocide? That too? You do that? You'd be okay with that one?
Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran too. And the very left never said a peep after Iran executed 30 to 40,000 young people.
Yes, we did. 100% we did. Who is the left here? Who's the left in this conversation?
They're just for protesting for democracy.
You think that the left is pro-Iran? Not the country, but the regime?
What I'm saying though is like, if anyone...
God, look at him fucking stutter through that!
And the Democratic Party is fine with Iran building a nuclear bomb, I disagree with that person.
You mean the thing that nuclear experts said that they actually weren't anywhere close to, establishing at all? And that by us fighting them, we actually ended up giving them billions of dollars so that they could even fund those programs themselves now? Like that's what... huh?
I think most people are... again, I think you're caricaturing the issue, but I want to... Is there anything you would criticize Israel about?
No, what I would say is...
What? Run that by me one more time?
Would criticize Israel about?
No, what I would say...
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I think I'm perfectly comfortable listening to exactly 30 more seconds of this.
Is that I have not a single Democrat that's willing to go on record saying, I'm cool, it's okay if Iran builds a nuclear bomb. And I supported last summer.
So yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, no, I thought he was going to clarify the Israel thing. he decided not to clarify the Israel thing, and he decided instead to just continue on with it. So, okay. That's all of that I can handle. That's all of that I can stand. Philadelphia, I am so sorry. I am so sorry y'all have to deal with this shit. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitt, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.